All right, shalom, shalom. I'd like to start off first and foremost by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachel. Double honors to the elders and the apostles, the great millstone who rule and teach well. Peace, love, and salutations to those who do this work in truth and in sincerity. This is your brother Nathaniel from the GMS Camp Atlanta, coming back at you through the Spirit with another lesson, and I pray and hope this lesson is edifying. And this lesson we're going into how Amalek has always, since the beginning, been pursuing and oppressing Jake. Always. Okay. And yeah, Amalek, the blessing of and we just, start off with that in the book of Genesis. This is the book of Genesis 27. And we're going to start at verse 34. And it says, And Esau heard the words of his father. He cried with a great and exceedingly bitter cry and said unto his father, Bless me, even me, O my father. And he said, Thy brother has came with subtlety, and have taken away thy blessing, which was never his. And he said, Is he not rightly named Jacob? For he had supplanted me these two times and took away my birthright. And behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, Hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him Lord, thy Lord, and all his brethren I have given to him for servants, and corn and wine and with corn and wine I have sustained him. And what shall I do unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered unto him and said, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven from above, and by the sword thou shalt live. All right, which means you're gonna have the earth, but you're gonna take everything by the sword. All right, and shall serve thy brother, and when it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, thou shalt break his yoke off thy neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherein his father had blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning my father are at hand. Then I will slay my brother Jacob. And he didn't do it then, but he's been doing it ever shortly after that. Okay. Now, when you go to the book of Exodus, well, first let's read this right here. This is Genesis 36 and 15. It says, These are the dukes of the sons of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son unto Esau, Duke Teman, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, Duke Kines, Duke Korah, Duke Gittim, and Duke Amalek. Okay? These are the dukes that came of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Adah. Okay? So all of these dukes came of Eliphaz, and Eliphaz was the son of Esau, and Amalek was the great grandson of Esau. Okay, because these were the sons of Ada. Okay, so Duke Kor, Duke Gadam, and Duke Amalek. These are the dukes that came of Eliphaz and in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Ada. Okay, so those were his great grandchildren. So Amalek was the great grandson of Esau. Okay, now in Genesis the 27th chapter, where we just read that the days of mourning, that Esau hated um Jacob for the blessing of Salakia that he had. Okay, Said the days of mourning my father are at hand, and then I shall slay my brother Esau. Okay, so Amalek, even from the beginning, has been pursuing Jacob based off of this right here. Now, when you go to when you go to Exodus, the 17th chapter, I'm going to start at verse 7. And they called the name of the place Amasa and Meribah because of the chiding of the children of Israel, and because they templed the Lord, they tempted the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" Then came Amalek and fought with Israel in Rephidim. Now, Israel had just came out of Egypt. Okay, Israel had just came out of Egypt. They were enslaved. They were enslaved in Egypt for 400 years, and they had just came out of Egypt. They had just crossed over the Red Sea, and they were in the wilderness. Okay, and as they're traveling, here comes Amalek. You see that? Now, the reason why I'm bringing this out is because I'm bringing a reference to today. What's happening today? Okay, is not Amalek pursuing Israel to this very day? Okay, now it says, then Amalek fought against fought with Israel in Rephidim, and Moses said unto Joshua, choose us, choose us out of men, and go and fight against Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand at the top of the hill with the rod of Yahweh in mine hand. So did Joshua and Moses. So Joshua did as Moses said unto him, and fought with Amalek. And Moses and Aaron and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass when Moses held his hands up that Israel prevailed, and when he let his hands, when he let down his hands, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands were very heavy, and they took stones and put it under him, and he sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, one on one side and the other on the other side, and his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. And Joshua discomforted Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. And the Lord said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out of remembrance of Amalek from under the heaven. Okay? And Moses built an altar and called it Jehovah Yahweh Vanessa. Okay, for he said, because the Lord has sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Why? Because Amalek attacks Israel without cause. It was that way then, and it is that way now. Okay, and when you go back in history and you start doing research about the soul that Cristobal Colon, you find out that this man is what they call a Sephardic Jew. He was an Amalekite. Okay, and we can read that here. Just a quick. It says recent 2024 DNA research and documentary Christopher DNA: His True Origin suggests that Columbus may have been a Sephardic Jew, which he was, from Western Europe, likely Spain, rather than Genoa, Italy, potentially hiding his identity to escape religious persecution while finding support theories of his Jewish ancestry. This remains a subject of ongoing historical debate and has not been universally accepted. Of course, it hasn't been. Okay, because this will just prove that this man this man was purposefully going after the so-called Negroes on the West Bank of Africa, which he was. Okay, and it goes on to say, it says DNA evidence, a 22-year-old study from bone fragments from Columbus and his son, conducted by forensic scientist Joseph Antonio Laurenti, found traits compatible with Sephardic Jew ancestry. Spanish oranges, the research suggests he was likely from Spain, Mediterranean region, possibly Valencia, contradicting the traditional view of a, a Genoese origin. All right. Now we do know that when Cristobal Colon went to the West Bank of Africa, he had Hebrew interpreters. Now I looked it up, and from prior information that I can that I knew, um, Cristobal Colon, uh, uh, he went with 5 Hebrew interpreters. Okay, this right here just says basically what is a Sephardic Jew. Um, uh, but when you go to the history, let's see. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. We're gonna get that in just a second. Here it is, right here. All right. So it says Christopher. I asked it. Did Christopher Columbus have 5 Hebrew interpreters with him? And Christopher Columbus did not have 5 Hebrew interpreters, nor did he travel to Africa on his first voyage in 1492. He brought one Jewish interpreter, Louis de Torres, on his voyage to the Americas. Torres was hired because he knew Hebrew and Aramaic and Arabic, because they knew that the ones that are over here were the lost tribes. And it says, as Columbus expected to find the lost tribes of Israel or Asian merchants. You see, so he knew that the tribes are over here. Now, how did he know this? Okay, how did he know that the tribes were over here? Well, let's take a look. I don't know where the video just went because I just had it up, but let's just pull it up again. Now, this is a movie. This is a clip from, and I do not own this, not making money out of this. This is fair use. This is for educational purposes only. It says Christopher Columbus used Second Ezra's book in the Apocrypha to reach the Western world. Now, look at this.
Why do you wish to sail west?
To open a new route to Asia. Asia is the richest kingdom, the land of spices and gold. At the moment, there are only 2 ways of reaching it. By sea, sailing around the African continent. The journey takes a year. Or by land. But the Turks have closed this route to all Christians. There is a 3rd way. By sailing west across the ocean sea.
The distance is unknown. It's said to be infinite.
Superstition. I believe the Indies are no more than 750 leagues west of the Canary Islands.
How can you be so certain?
The calculations of Toscanelli, Marin de Tir, Esdras.
Esdras is a Jew.
So
Yeah, you see that?
2 minutes and already.
See that? Ezra's. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. All right. So, um, as you can see, he went to the Americas with the Hebrew interpreters, and he used Ezra's to find it. Okay. Now this is out of their movie. What's the name of it? It was 1492 Conquest to Paradise, movie made in 1992. Okay, so we see that when he went to the Americas, Columbus was exceedingly brutal to the natives because he knew who they were. Okay, he knew who they were. All right. Now this is a case of who Amalek. Okay, oppressing Jake. Now it is alleged that that Jews were the ones that funded the building of the slave ship that went to the West Bank of Africa. Now I can't, now that when you Google that information and try and pull it up, it's not coming up. Okay, and I don't have the books in front of me, but we were always taught that this that they went to the West Bank of Africa with I think 5 Hebrew interpreters, and they knew that the people that were there were Jews. Okay, was the tribe of Judah. And Amalek was the biggest funder of the transatlantic slave trade. All right. Now we can Google it and try to pull it up, but unfortunately, Google is not going to pull it up because, of course, everything is censored here in America now. Especially now, I can see if I can pull it up on DeepSeek. Let's see. Let's see if DeepSeek can get it to me. I says, based on consensus of historical scholarship, the claim that Jews funded the transatlantic slave trade is false. While individual Jews participated in the slave trade, the overall involvement of Jews was minimal, especially compared to other groups, and they did not pay a dominant or disproportionate role. Well, we didn't say that. We just, I said that they funded, which means that you didn't have to put all the funding up, but just some of it. But you still had the Arabs, and then you had the Africans. They all participated in putting our people into slavery. All right. Now we see that they saying that they did play a dominant role, but they played a role. But we're gonna say they played a dominant role in there. Everything is censored. But as you can see, the point that I'm bringing out is that you got Amalek in the Americas oppressing the 10 tribes, and you got Amalek going to the West Bank of Africa to oppress the Southern Kingdom. You see what I'm saying? So it's Amalek who has consistently attacked Jake. And when I was going through Exodus, for the purposes of the Passover that's coming up, and I was reading, I was like, damn, Amalek has been attacking Jake ever since way back when. This is why the Lord said he's going to have war with Amalek from generation to generation, because Amalek has consistently attacked Jake on every single front without no relenting, no remorse. All right? Now, this is Numbers 4 and 20. Numbers 4 and 20. And it says, I'm sorry, 24 and 20. And it says, and when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek is the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. So Amalek is the one that's in charge. He's the first of the nations. He's in the top. Who's the top banking families? Okay, who owns the central banking system? Okay, who owns all the multinational corporations? Who controls America? Who can't you talk about in America? All right, and who was their target? Who has always been their target? It has been Jake. Okay, Amalek has had a serious hatred, and it's not just Amalek; it's all the Edomites. But Amalek is the head. Okay, he's the one that made it to where Jake couldn't get loans. He's the one because he controls the money. He's the one that facilitated now all Edomites, but he was the one that facilitated redlining and gentrification and all of these different programs to keep Jake oppressed because of his hatred for Jake. All right, and this is a long-standing hatred. When the Lord said, like I'm about to bring out right now in Ezekiel 35, all right, Ezekiel 35 and 5. It says, I'm gonna start at verse 2. It says, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesied against it, because this is the latter end. Okay, as we just brought out in Numbers 20 and 24. It says, And say unto it, Thus saith the Lord power, Behold, O mountains, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch my hand out against thee, and I will make thee most desolate, and I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know I am the Lord, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. Now, didn't we just go back and brought out that Amalek was the great grandson or the great grandson of Esau? Okay, we just brought that out. So Amalek is the Edomite, but he is the head tribe of Edom. All right. So even though this is talking about all Edom, it's definitely talking about Amalek, which are the so-called Jews today, which are doing the most evil. All right. It says, verse 3 again, it says, And say unto it, Thus saith the Lord power, Behold, I am, O Mount Seir, I am against thee. And I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and know that, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, in the time of their calamity, in the time their iniquity had came to an end. All right. Therefore, as I live, said the Lord, I will prepare thee unto blood. And this is exactly what's happening right now. The Lord is preparing Amalek along with the rest of the Edomites onto blood. This is why the scriptures say the least of the flock shall draw them out, because it's not just one. It's not just Amalek. It's all Edomites. But Amalek is the worst of them all. Okay. Amalek is the worst of them all. All right. He's the consistent blood shedder, the no mercy having, you know. just the name stealers. Okay, that's these people. And Amalek is the worst, as Scott Ritter said in one of his videos that I watched the other day. He said, "Man, they're the scourge of the earth. They need to be completely wiped out," and he's absolutely right. They do. Okay, and they are going to be. All right. It says, "Therefore, as I live, say the Lord, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee, since thou hast not hated blood. Even blood shall pursue thee. Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off him that passeth out, and him that returneth." Okay, and I will fill his mountains with slain men, and thy hills and thy valleys, and all thy rivers shall fall by the sword. And I will make thee perpetual desolations, and thy cities shall not return, and ye shall know I am the Lord. Okay? That's Amalek. All right? Who owns everything? When you take all of these companies, McDonald's, Wendy's, Walmart, Kroger, Publix, Target, Ross, Marshalls, when you take all of these different companies and you trace them all back up the ladder, they all go to two different companies, BlackRock and Vanguard, that owns predominantly all of these different companies. And who owns them? Amalek, the so-called Jew. Okay? And who is his primary target to oppress? Jake. Now, of course, he oppresses his own, but not like Jake. All right? So this is just to show you that these people over there in the land that say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan, right? These guys over there that make these claims, right? They're Amalekites. They have a perpetual hatred for Jake. All right? And they know that you're Jake. Their whole thing was to hide your history from you. So you don't know who you are. As the scriptures say, Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. But who is the tip of the spear of that? Amalek. All right? He owns everything. All right? And I can't say that enough. He causes all of the wars. All wars are bankers' wars. And who owns the banks? Let's just look that up real quick. Now you know they're gonna not. This says central banks stand ready to tackle war-led inflation, but the U.S. economy is the U.S. Treasury said that the U.S. is insolvent, so that means that they're bankrupt. So what are they talking about? Anyway, as you can see, the censorship is real. Okay, I didn't realize there was a movie called All Wars Are Bankers Wars, but hey, there you go. They control everything to shift the narrative. All right, because they don't want to be painted in a bad light. But as you can see, 10 tribes, Africa, everything has been targeted toward Jake, and the one at the tip of the spear is Amalek. So this man has been pursuing Jake ever since the Exodus out of Egypt, and he's the one in charge in the Exodus out of the New Egypt, which is Babylon, aka America. All right, so there it is. So I just wanted to do that quick video on Amalek has been pursuing Jake since the beginning. And I pray that you found this edifying. I'm ended off by giving all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai, Bashim Rakar Kadash. Until the next time I say Shalom.